The setting was an ordinary day at one of Jackie Chan's many acclaimed restaurants. The renowned martial artist and global superstar, famous for his film roles, stunts, and charitable contributions, arrived quietly, hoping to enjoy a rare, peaceful meal away from the spotlight. His intent was to dine as a regular customer, without fanfare or the typical media frenzy that followed his every move. It was an unassuming day, and Jackie, dressed casually in an attempt to blend in, arrived with the simple goal of enjoying some quality food and relaxing in the comfort of one of his own restaurants. However, what started as a routine, inconspicuous visit quickly escalated into an ironic and humorous moment when Jackie found himself at odds with one of his own staff members, a rude waiter. The scene took an unexpected turn when the waiter, unaware of the identity of his guest, began to treat Jackie with an unprofessional and disrespectful attitude. The waiter, who was likely having a rough day, failed to recognize the celebrity seated before him and instead dismissed Jackie's request with irritation, not realizing he was disrespecting one of the most famous and beloved figures in the world. The irony of the situation was palpable. Jackie Chan, a man with a legacy built on both kindness and respect, was being mistreated in his own restaurant by an employee who clearly misunderstood the importance of good service. What transpired next would highlight not just the arrogance of the waiter, but also Jackie's incredible composure and restraint in the face of rudeness. His reaction was a perfect mix of humor, humility, and wisdom, and the way he handled the situation would send a message far beyond the walls of his restaurant. The story would soon become a viral sensation, where the legendary actor became not just the victim of a misunderstanding, but a teacher of patience and grace. The humor and irony of the situation are central to the story. How a man known for his martial arts prowess, fame, and public presence was mistaken for a regular guest, only to have the situation turned upside down when the waiter's mistake was revealed. But beyond the humor, this encounter would showcase Jackie Chan's personal values, his humility, his commitment to respect, and his ability to turn a potentially embarrassing situation into an opportunity for teaching. This story isn't just about a celebrity being misunderstood. It's about how, even in moments of frustration, one can choose dignity and humor over confrontation. On this particular day, Jackie Chan was simply looking for a quiet escape. His life, filled with movie sets, charity events, and endless media attention, rarely offered him the chance to experience normal, everyday life. So when he arrived at one of his own restaurants, a place he had carefully built over the years, his goal was to enjoy the kind of meal that many people take for granted, a peaceful meal, free from the distractions of fame. Jackie, though a global icon, wasn't expecting the fanfare that usually accompanied his name. He arrived incognito, perhaps wearing a cap or sunglasses, his facial features softened by the casual clothing he had chosen for the occasion. There were no cameras, no fans huddling outside in hopes of a photo or autograph. For once, Jackie wanted to enjoy his food and immerse himself in the atmosphere of his restaurant, a space he had worked hard to establish as a top-tier dining experience. It was an opportunity to be part of the crowd, to see firsthand how the restaurant operated, and perhaps gain insights into how his employees treated the guests. As Jackie sat down, the restaurant continued to bustle with activity. The staff moved efficiently, serving food and drinks with smiles, and the patrons around him were enjoying their meals. The atmosphere was warm and welcoming, exactly what Jackie had hoped for when he had built the restaurant. People were laughing, talking, and savoring the food, unaware that one of the world's most famous martial artists was dining amongst them. Despite the ordinary ambiance, Jackie's presence was a quiet reminder of the success he had built over the years, not just in the entertainment world, but in the hospitality industry as well. He had worked tirelessly to establish not just his image as an actor, but also as a businessman, known for his dedication and passion for every venture he pursued. His restaurants were a reflection of that, places where people could experience great food and excellent service. On this day, however, his desire for a quiet experience was interrupted by an unexpected element: the rudeness of one of the staff members. What should have been a peaceful meal began to unravel when the waiter assigned to Jackie's table exhibited a lack of respect, patience, and professionalism. It wasn't a major issue at first, just small signs of irritation, But the cumulative effect of the waiter's rude behavior started to take its toll. Little did the waiter know that the man sitting before him was not just an ordinary customer. He was the owner of the very establishment he worked in. Jackie's initial reaction wasn't to make a scene. He simply tried to continue with his meal. His purpose was to observe, not to demand special treatment. He believed in fairness and equality, and he didn't want to exploit his status for special privileges. However, the situation slowly started to escalate. The first signs of tension appeared when Jackie attempted to place his order. A minor delay, perhaps a lack of attention, and the waiter's impatient tone immediately stood out. It seemed like a small matter at first, a simple mistake. But as the meal progressed, it became evident that this wasn't just a one-time error. The waiter, who appeared to be having a bad day, started taking out his frustrations on the customers, and unfortunately for Jackie, he became the target. The waiter, perhaps overwhelmed by the pace of the restaurant or irritated with something unrelated, began to display unprofessional behavior. His responses were curt and dismissive, and he seemed uninterested in fulfilling Jackie's simple requests. When Jackie asked for something as basic as a refill or clarification about a menu item, the waiter's tone shifted from polite service to condescending remarks. Jackie, used to dealing with all kinds of people, remained calm. He didn't let the small slights get to him, thinking perhaps it was just a passing annoyance or a moment of bad mood on the waiter's part. But as the evening wore on, the waiter's attitude only worsened. He ignored Jackie's further attempts to interact, choosing instead to engage with other guests with more enthusiasm and attention. Jackie, still trying to maintain his composure, couldn't help but feel the growing discomfort. Here he was, sitting in one of his own restaurants, paying for the same meal as everyone else, yet being treated with a level of disregard that was unexpected. The situation was starting to border on disrespect, not just because of the poor service, but because the waiter's behavior was becoming more personal in nature, ignoring requests, making dismissive remarks, and ultimately treating Jackie as if he were just another anonymous guest. In an environment where hospitality is key, where the goal is to make every guest feel special, the waiter's actions were the antithesis of what Jackie had worked so hard to build. But Jackie, being a seasoned professional himself, chose not to escalate things. He opted for patience, trying to move past the rudeness and simply enjoy his meal. Unfortunately, the situation continued to deteriorate, and Jackie realized that the waiter wasn't just having an off day, he was deliberately being rude, and it wasn't going to improve without intervention. As the meal continued, Jackie's patience began to wear thin. The waiter's behavior escalated, moving from simple rudeness to outright disregard for Jackie's needs. Whenever Jackie tried to engage with the waiter, asking for the bill, ordering an additional item, or simply making a polite request, the waiter either ignored him or responded with sarcastic remarks. Jackie, accustomed to being in the public eye and often dealing with less than ideal situations, initially tried to remain patient. He understood that not every employee would be perfect, and perhaps the waiter was under pressure. But as time passed, it became increasingly clear that the waiter's attitude wasn't just a result of stress, it was a personal choice. His lack of basic courtesy and hospitality was a blatant disregard for the values Jackie held dear, especially in a place he owned and cared deeply about. Jackie had always valued the concept of treating others with respect, whether in the entertainment industry, his businesses, or his personal life. He believed in showing kindness, even when others weren't kind in return. However, this situation was different. As the waiter continued to be dismissive, Jackie started to feel a sense of injustice, not because of his own treatment, but because this was a restaurant he had created to offer great service and a welcoming atmosphere. The waiter's actions were tarnishing the experience for everyone around him, not just Jackie. As Jackie continued to deal with the waiter's growing rudeness, the discomfort was becoming too much to bear. The tipping point came when the waiter outright ignored Jackie's requests for help and instead focused on serving other customers with enthusiasm and care. Jackie's patience, which had served him well throughout the evening, was now stretched to its limit. The final straw came when, in a burst of frustration, the waiter, without recognizing who he was speaking to, flatly told Jackie that his behavior was unacceptable and that he needed to leave. The waiter's words were harsh and dismissive, and it was clear that he was no longer interested in providing service. This moment was a profound shock to Jackie. Not only had he been disrespected in his own restaurant, but the waiter had escalated the situation by asking him to leave, assuming he was just another disgruntled customer. Jackie had been patient, respectful, and understanding, yet the waiter's rudeness had reached a point of no return. The irony of the situation was stark. The man sitting in front of the waiter, quiet, composed, and unassuming, was in fact the very person who owned the establishment. Despite the shock and frustration of being disrespected by one of his own employees, Jackie Chan, ever the professional, maintained his composure. Jackie's calm demeanor in the face of this rude treatment showcased his deep sense of patience and restraint. Rather than reacting impulsively, he chose to take a step back, quietly preparing to leave, as if honoring the waiter's request. At first glance, it may have seemed like Jackie was simply accepting the situation, respecting the waiter's authority. However, Jackie wasn't going to let the situation slide so easily. While remaining poised, he decided to use the moment to his advantage. Rather than escalating things or causing a scene, he chose to address the situation in a controlled yet impactful way. Jackie knew that confrontation didn't have to be loud or aggressive to be effective. In fact, his reputation and wisdom gave him an even greater opportunity to turn this moment into a powerful lesson. As he slowly stood up from the table, preparing to leave, his actions were deliberate. He wasn't in a rush to cause a commotion, but the final reveal was going to be something that would leave a lasting impression. Not just on the waiter, but on anyone who had witnessed the exchange. Jackie Chan was not just any customer. He was the owner of the restaurant. The quiet, reserved nature of Jackie's response to the situation added to the suspense. He wasn't angry, but there was a certain intensity in the air, a clear indication that the events unfolding were far from ordinary. As Jackie walked toward the door, the room was heavy with anticipation. The waiter, still unaware of the identity of the person he had just humiliated, remained oblivious to the fact that his rude behavior was about to lead to an unforgettable moment. Just as Jackie reached the door, preparing to exit in silence, he decided to turn around one last time. The waiter, still standing by the counter, probably felt a sense of victory, thinking that he had successfully removed a troublesome customer from the premises. Jackie Chan, with a calm yet firm voice, finally addressed the situation head-on. "You know," he began, his voice carrying across the now silent restaurant, "I actually own this restaurant." The words hung in the air for a moment as the entire room seemed to pause in disbelief. The waiter's face immediately went pale. The realization of what had just transpired struck him like a bolt of lightning. His arrogance turned to embarrassment in an instant. Jackie wasn't just a regular customer he had insulted. He was the very person who owned the restaurant, the man who had worked tirelessly to establish it and ensure that the guests received the best service possible. The irony was overwhelming. The man who had treated Jackie with disrespect, assuming he was just another random diner, now found himself standing in front of the very person he had disrespected. His eyes widened in shock as he stammered, trying to recover from his blunder. Jackie's quiet demeanor had not given him any hint of who he was dealing with, and now that the truth was out, the waiter was left scrambling to fix the situation. But the damage was done. Jackie had already made his point. His simple revelation had flipped the entire situation on its head. The waiter, realizing the gravity of his mistake, immediately became flustered. His previous confidence had evaporated, replaced by a palpable sense of discomfort and guilt. His attempts at damage control were clumsy and hurried. "I'm so sorry, I didn't realize," he began, but the apology was rushed and lacking sincerity. The waiter's words barely made it past his lips before he tried to backpedal, offering explanations that failed to convince anyone, especially Jackie. He stammered out excuses for his rude behavior, but Jackie wasn't looking for an excuse. He was looking for genuine respect and accountability. Jackie could have easily escalated the situation using his power and influence to humiliate the waiter further, but instead, he chose to remain calm, offering no further escalation. Jackie's calmness left the waiter and everyone else in the room in an even more uncomfortable position. Jackie didn't need to lash out or be cruel. His presence and the simple fact that he was the restaurant owner had already done the work of revealing the truth. The waiter's actions had spoken for themselves, and now he was left standing in the awkward silence that followed Jackie's revelation. Other patrons in the restaurant began to look on, some shaking their heads, others exchanging glances. The once bustling atmosphere had shifted, with the entire room now aware of the irony unfolding before them. Jackie, ever the professional, hadn't raised his voice or reacted with anger. His calm, composed demeanor only emphasized the rudeness and incompetence of the waiter's actions. Instead of making the waiter feel small, Jackie took the opportunity to educate him, though not through confrontation or public humiliation. He saw the moment not just as a personal slight, but as an opportunity to teach the waiter an important lesson about humility and respect. Jackie, with a quiet authority, turned to the waiter and spoke calmly. Respect for others is essential, especially in a place like this, where people come to relax and enjoy themselves. No one, regardless of who they are or how they look, should ever be treated poorly. He emphasized that, in the hospitality industry, everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, from the most famous customers to the ones who are just passing through. It's important to treat people with respect, no matter their background, Jackie continued, his voice steady but firm. You may not know who someone is, but that doesn't give you the right to treat them disrespectfully. Jackie's words were not just directed at the waiter. They were a message for everyone in the room. Jackie's calm, measured response spoke volumes. Rather than retaliating with anger, he used the moment as an opportunity to impart wisdom. He wasn't trying to belittle the waiter. He was offering him a chance to learn and grow. This was a teachable moment, one that would stay with the waiter long after Jackie had left the restaurant. Word of the incident quickly spread among other patrons in the restaurant. Several people had witnessed the entire exchange, and the story quickly became a talking point in the restaurant. Conversations began to circulate about the rude waiter and how Jackie handled the situation with remarkable calm and grace. Patrons couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. A waiter had thrown out Jackie Chan, one of the most famous people in the world, and treated him with disrespect, all without realizing who he was. As expected, social media caught wind of the story. Videos of the exchange, as well as photos of the waiter's awkward apology, flooded online platforms. The incident quickly went viral, with users sharing their shock at the rude behavior and praising Jackie for handling it so professionally. Social media users from around the world expressed admiration for how Jackie had turned a potentially embarrassing situation into a powerful lesson in humility and respect. Hashtags like #respect, Jackie, and #lesson in humility began trending, with people from all walks of life chiming in to express their support for Jackie. Fans of Jackie, as well as advocates for kindness in the service industry, flooded the comment sections with messages of gratitude for his calm response. The incident sparked broader conversations about the importance of respect and customer service in the hospitality industry, and how even those in positions of power should be treated with dignity. In the aftermath of the incident, Jackie Chan took a moment to reflect on what had transpired, processing both the frustration of the situation and the deeper lessons it had imparted. While the events of the evening could have easily turned into a source of anger or embarrassment, Jackie remained calm throughout, choosing instead to see the experience as an opportunity for growth, both for himself and for the waiter. The situation, frustrating as it was, became a reminder that respect for others is fundamental in all aspects of life. Jackie's response wasn't just about him being a celebrity or a business owner. It was a reflection of his core values: humility, kindness, and the belief that respect should always come before status. Despite being in a position where he could have easily used his fame or authority to retaliate, Jackie chose to handle the moment with poise and grace. It was a decision rooted in the values he had embraced throughout his life, both on and off the screen. While it would have been tempting to confront the waiter aggressively or to publicly humiliate him in front of others, Jackie showed that true strength lies in restraint. By not escalating the situation, he gave the waiter a chance to reflect on his actions and to learn from the experience. Jackie's calm demeanor and thoughtful response were powerful reminders that kindness, not anger, is the best way to address disrespect. Instead of perpetuating a cycle of negativity, Jackie chose to model the kind of behavior he would want to see from others, especially in a hospitality environment where empathy, patience, and respect are paramount. The waiter, as he tried to apologize for his rude behavior, no longer held the same sense of arrogance he had shown earlier. Jackie's willingness to remain composed and give him space to redeem himself sent a clear message. Sometimes the greatest power lies in how we respond to negativity. Jackie's actions were an example of maturity and wisdom, showing that conflict doesn't always need to be met with confrontation. Instead, it can be an opportunity for growth and understanding. As Jackie walked out of the restaurant, a slight smile curled across his face. He had already known that his actions were aligned with the person he aspired to be, a person who believed in the power of kindness and who sought to treat others with dignity, no matter their background or position. The moment, which may have initially seemed like a minor inconvenience, had turned into a teachable lesson for both the waiter and the other restaurant patrons. For Jackie, it wasn't about being right or asserting his authority. It was about doing the right thing in the moment, without drawing attentions to himself. The lesson was bigger than the individual situation. It was about building a culture of respect, kindness, and humility, values that Jackie had lived by throughout his career. In the days that followed, the story of the incident likely became a humorous anecdote in the restaurant's history, one that would be shared among staff and patrons alike. However, beneath the laughter, there was a deeper significance to the event. It served as a powerful reminder that humility is not just about acknowledging one's flaws, but about using our influence for positive change, no matter how big or small. Jackie's ability to turn an awkward situation into a moment of reflection and learning became the lasting takeaway, not just for the waiter, but for anyone who witnessed or heard about the exchange. The story would no doubt become a lesson in the importance of humility and how, despite one's fame or success, the most essential quality remains respect for others. For Jackie Chan, this incident was a reflection of how he chose to live his life, quietly impactful, kind, and willing to teach through example rather than force. It was a true testament to the values he had always tried to embody, treating everyone with kindness, leading with integrity, and remaining grounded regardless of external circumstances. Ultimately, Jackie left the restaurant not just as a celebrity or a businessman, but as a role model, someone who led with both strength and humility. As he moved forward, the lesson he imparted that day would stay with the waiter and others who had witnessed the interaction. It was a gentle reminder that kindness should always be at the forefront of our interactions, and that true leadership is about guiding others with patience, respect, and an unwavering sense of integrity.